I am sure you've seen the news all about NAR and that groundbreaking settlement. Okay, so I feel the need to address the proposed National Association of Realtors settlement of a series of antitrust commission lawsuits totaling $418 million in damages and revising commission rules. This news, which came out last Friday, March 15th, rocked the world of real estate and mortgage lending. The mainstream media's coverage of this proposed settlement has been incredibly misleading and clickbaity for the average consumer. It's important to note that the federal court has not signed off on the proposed settlement yet, so the ground is still literally shifting under our feet, and we don't know how this is going to play out. The biggest change of this proposed settlement is the decoupling of buyer-broker commission from the brokerage commission that the seller pays to list their house. The system used to look like this. When a seller decided to sign a listing agreement with a brokerage, it was with the contractual understanding that the listing brokerage would pay the buyer's brokerage a portion of the total. Here where I work, there's a special section in the listing agreement where the sellers initial to specifically acknowledge that they understand I will be paying a commission to whoever brings the buyer from my agreed upon brokerage fee that the seller is paying to me upon the completion of the transaction. The proposed new method of compensation looks like this. The seller could choose to pay the buyer's agent, and if they didn't, then the buyer would pay the buyer's agent, or it could be a combination. The seller pays a portion and the buyer pays a portion. The media's representation of this news is that brokerage commission rates will now be negotiable. Brokerage commissions have always been negotiable, so this is not a change. The media is also saying that because sellers now potentially won't be paying the buyer's agent's commission, that the price of homes is going to come down. This is laughable. It's just not going to happen. The price of homes is going to stay the same and continue to rise. Show me a seller anywhere that will say, hey, the comps in my neighborhood are showing a likely selling price of $450,000, but since I'm not going to pay the buyer's agent anymore, I think I should list my house at $436,500. No, they're going to pocket the money. Why would they not? Another change as proposed as part of this settlement is that any offers of compensation to the buyer's agent cannot be listed on the MLS. The way it stands now is that that's public information and the consumers can see what's being offered to their agent. It's fully transparent. With the proposed settlement, there can be no mention of a co-broke on the MLS. I think the intention of this is that some buyers felt that their agents were steering them towards properties that paid better. Now it will be a mystery for everyone, both buyers and their agents. We won't have a standardized way to see if the home the buyer wants to look at will offer a co-broke or not. This sounds like a lot of stress for buyers, especially if they are not in the position of being able to pay their agent out of pocket. Hey, it's me again. I had some more thoughts that I wanted to bring in, so I am back. We're going to insert this video into the overall larger video. I need to talk to you some more about the MLS. The MLS is fantastic. It is a wonderful system because it is an open, free, and transparent market that has been created by realtor associations agreeing to work together. One of the greatest things about the MLS is that all information is displayed to every agent who is paying to have access to it. It's a level playing field. It doesn't matter if you are a brand new little baby agent or a mega producer. You all have access to the same information that you can take to your clients. But because of this proposed settlement, the language in the settlement says that the amount of compensation that the seller is offering to the buyer and the buyer's agent is going to be removed. There'll be no way to know what that is. And why is this such a big deal? Because it removes transparency and there is no way to guarantee that we know that people are being treated fairly. What if the listing agent doesn't like the agent who is asking about it? Are they going to offer a lower amount as compared to another agent that perhaps they do have a good relationship with? What if the listing agent and the seller says, well, I'm not sure I like the kind of people that agent is working with? Excuse me? The kind of people? We all know what that is code for. The decision to remove the transparency about the co-broke offered is so detrimental. I will be advising my sellers to still offer a commission to the buyer's agent, and here's why. Real estate transactions can easily become very complicated, and I believe each party deserves knowledgeable and professional representation. Buyers attempting to purchase properties without professional representation will be much more likely to cause delays and complications in the transaction that impact the seller. If a seller chooses not to offer a co-broke, they have effectively eliminated a large portion of the buyer pool able to purchase their home, which will then extend the amount of time it takes to sell their home. When they do find a buyer who wants to buy their home, either unrepresented or a buyer who's financially able to pay their own agent, then that buyer will likely think that they are justified in offering less than the asking price because their buyer's agent commission isn't baked in, which would then negate any savings the seller was hoping to realize while only extending their time on market and increasing the odds of a messy and complicated transaction because the buyer doesn't have anyone guiding them. It does not look like a winning situation to me at all. As a listing agent, I have to balance my fiduciary duty to my sellers with the realities of running my business and managing my time. If we have a sudden increase in unrepresented buyers running around trying to buy a house with no agent in an effort to not pay for that knowledge, experience, and service a buyer's agent brings to the table, my phone is going to be ringing off the hook for unrepresented buyers wanting to schedule a showing on my listings. I can see how listing agents will quickly find that the time needed to repeatedly show the property over and over is unsustainable. And instead of offering private showings, they will dedicate a few time blocks in a week to hold the house open. And if you don't have an agent, that's your only option to see it, along with everybody else. Then what happens if the unrepresented buyer wants to write an offer? Does the seller agree to dual agency? If not, then that buyer will need to hire an attorney to write their offer. And by the way, attorneys do not do anything beyond filling out the contract. Does the unrepresented buyer agree to pay me, the listing agent, a fee for the service of writing it? Well, then why aren't you paying that fee to your buyer's agent and enjoying your own representation? I will not write an offer and conduct the buyer side of a transaction for no compensation because 1, I don't work for free, and 2, I bear a lot of liability in a transaction. And in order for my E&O insurance to be in effect, I must have a contract for the services I provide. If you sign a contract with me, there is a fee for my services. And again, it comes back to the value of my skills, knowledge, and experience. Those come with a cost, and I deserve to be compensated, just like you do when you go to work. Back in the 1960s through the 1980s, buyers basically went to the listing agent if they wanted to buy a property. There wasn't buyer representation, and as a result, buyers had a lot of risk and they were easily taken advantage of. In the early 1990s, buyer's agency was created, and for the first time, buyers could work with an agent in a fiduciary relationship for their sole benefit. Now here we are some 30 years later, and nothing has changed with how commissions are paid. Yet sellers have decided that they are upset with how a portion of the money that the seller agreed to pay to get their house listed with a brokerage is shared with the buying broker. So now we're going back in time to potentially attempt to financially blackmail buyers into a no representation situation on what's likely the largest transaction of their lives. How does that make sense? History is repeating themselves, and the people who are going to be hurt the most in this change are first-time buyers, lower-income buyers, and VA buyers by ultimately making home ownership even more difficult for them. Another question coming to the surface for me in all of this is the pay structure of how buyers' agents get paid. Is it going to change from a percentage of the purchase price to maybe a flat fee service? or perhaps will bill in hourly increments or 15-minute increments like an attorney with an additional non-refundable upfront retainer fee. If it's a flat rate fee, I have to tell you that lower dollar buyers are usually much more work and time intensive because it's harder to find them any decent properties. Offers are often in competing offer situations, and then negotiations and inspections are usually a lot hairier. So are we going to set different flat rate fees for different price points based upon the estimated work involved? That seems like a very slippery slope into the violation of federal fair housing law. So what's going to happen for buyers who don't have the money to pay a buyer's agent? A lot of buyers are using almost all of their financial resources to get over that hurdle and into home ownership. The way mortgage lending works, at least here in Iowa, where I practice real estate, is that we currently cannot write any commission-related details into a purchase agreement. I mean, it makes sense, right? When a bank lends on a property, that home is the collateral. If the agent commission was written into the purchase agreement, what would be the bank's collateral on that portion of the loan? Are we supposed to write offers for X amount over list price to essentially fund the buyer's agent commission into the overall purchase price and then hope that the property appraises for that higher amount? Which, by the way, would be artificially driving home prices up. Will banks start allowing home buyers to get a mortgage tied to a personal loan in order to pay the agent's commission? The whole situation is just a giant can of worms. And let's not forget about VA loans where the buyer is specifically forbidden from paying their agent. Lending regulations are going to need an overhaul. Can all of this be accomplished by July when this proposed settlement is supposed to take effect? I think talented real estate agents have accidentally shot themselves in the foot by making the home buying and selling process look seamless. I mean, I pride myself on having my clients feel like I've just waved a magic wand and the whole transaction happens without a hitch, when in reality, there is a whole heck of a lot more to the process than they realize. It's the classic analogy of a swimming duck. From above the water, it appears the duck is just peacefully floating. Meanwhile, underwater, there's a lot of work happening to move the duck against the current. Look, realtors offer a service. Nobody is required to work with us. You can sell your house FSBO or find an attorney to write your contract and attempt to get through the transaction unrepresented. The people who won't value my value and expertise and services in the near future are the same people who didn't before, and I am not concerned about them because I have a steady stream of people who do want my service and value what I bring to the table. Ultimately, it's like any other service that a consumer would purchase. If you want a haircut, you can go to Cost Cutters and take your chances on how it will turn out, or you can go to the salon and receive excellent service. Ultimately, I don't think that the sky is falling for the real estate industry, and I definitely don't think this is going to make home prices come down. All it's going to do is create more barriers for buyers. I am really worried about my first-time home buyers, my VA, and my lower price point buyers. Things were already very difficult for them, and this new method of how it all works feels like such a low blow. The Department of Justice has stuck their nose in a system that brought benefit to both buyers and sellers, and they threw the most vulnerable buyers under the bus. And for what? To say they solved price fixing when price fixing was not happening in the first place? Commissions have been and continue to be negotiable. Let me interrupt your regularly scheduled programming here for one more thought. What happens when the DOJ comes after your industry, your business, your job, and starts telling you how you can conduct your business? I bet that you are going to have problems with that too. I am super curious about what your thoughts are on this entire massive change to the real estate industry. Please leave me some comments down below. Please be respectful, because you need to understand that real estate agents are small business owners. We are all independent contractors working underneath the umbrella of various brokerages. We are all out here helping people buy and sell property, which is the American dream. And every real estate agent that I talk to, they are all incredibly concerned how this is going to affect home buyers, especially those home buyers that we've mentioned, those low-income home buyers, the first-time home buyers, the VA home buyers. It's really coming down to even just regular middle-class home buyers. Trying to get into home ownership is becoming so difficult. These home buyers are now potentially going to bear significant more costs upon entry. It almost makes you wonder if the dream of the American home ownership, does somebody want that to be no longer? What would happen if people didn't own a piece of land, weren't invested because they were property owners? What would happen if we were a nation of renters? Is that the future that we're being pushed into? Do you think this proposed change to the way commission is offered is a benefit to the US MLS-based real estate system? Do you think that this will change or reduce home prices? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Hey, it's been fun, and I'll catch you later.